ever get up or get to your office or get home from work and just stand there and think, which one? Which one of the 50 or so things I know I could or should do right now, which one do I do? Do I start with the short, easy ones? Do I get going on the more challenging one? Or maybe the ones that my supervisor will notice or my family's been asking for? Of course, I could do that thing I really got excited about and then barely started. And then I find myself thinking, you know what? While I figure that out, I'll just go start a load of laundry. You're listening to Veg Your Best, and I'm Michelle Olander. Episode 191, Spring Cleaning. Start with your energy. Welcome back, my Veg Your Bestie, or welcome if you're new here. Okay, one of the reasons I show up consistently as a public vegan, I guess you could say, it's because I have not forgotten what it means to think it would just be impossible for me to be vegan. Maybe it's that Gemini thing. I do truly feel I could never want an animal to be hurt, especially not for food. Food that's essentially entertainment, not required for me or my family to live. And on the other hand, I can still feel that physical truthiness, if you will. The truthiness of all the rationalizations that I had. All those justifications I had that animal products are normal, natural, and necessary, and that it was kind of extreme to give them up, and that it would be too difficult to commit to and would require way too much energy that I didn't have. For me, I had to carry around that idea of not eating animals and not consuming their secretions and not supporting animal agriculture. I had to carry that unformed and often uninformed idea around as kind of an open energy loop for a while. It was like having something on your someday/maybe list. And I'm asking today, and I'm wondering if you have things like that in your brain, on your list. Open energy loops, things that are cycling around and around in the back of your brain that you haven't really made a decision on. Now, you may find this surprising. A lot of the people who work with me, a lot of the people who are drawn to my work and my coaching, when they talk to me, they say they want to clean up some area of their lives before they can really focus on their vegan or plant-based practice. Or if they're already vegan, they need to clean up some area of their lives before they get going on their main goal of creating something new. And I mean that pretty literally. I would say almost every client that I've ever worked with has mentioned that there is a space in their home or office or schedule or life, a space that they say they need to deal with first before they can take on anything else. And for sure, I'm not Marie Kondo. I am not an organizing specialist. But I know with my clients that unfinished things, unsaid things, undecided things, open tasks on our, would you call it an internal operating system? Those unfinished things drain our energy. Have you seen that too? We live in a culture, in a world of unlimited possibilities, of things to do, places to go, objects to buy, foods to eat, ideas to experiment with, solutions to try on. How long is your list? Mine's huge. How many books are on your bedside table? How many videos are in your Netflix queue? Are there items in your Amazon saved for later cart? Are there bills you haven't filed, recipes you haven't cooked, cards you haven't sent, emails you haven't replied to, houseplants? Have you got houseplants you haven't watered? Folks you haven't thanked? Are there relatives you haven't called, exercise equipment you haven't picked up, bird feeders you haven't tended to, car inspections you haven't gotten to? Just got mine done. I think it was 4 months overdue. Me too. Me too to all of the above. And it makes the idea of taking on something, anything, no matter how good an idea, no matter your doctor suggested it or that you know it's a good thing, it makes the idea of taking on something that isn't already on your list or wish list kind of daunting. No matter how good an idea it is, right? Because all of those open items, those things you aren't doing right now, they are still running in the background. They're still using up energy. And they keep you from knowing what to do when you have that moment that you could do something in. And we talked about this a while back. I can't remember which episode, honestly. But since it has come up with a lot of my recent, newer clients, this is the idea of tolerations. And I think the term was coined by Thomas Leonard, who was a coach probably in the 90s and wrote a couple of really good books. And I think he died quite young. But Thomas Leonard had some very interesting idea about distinctions and language and this concept of tolerations. Tolerations are things that you put up with or endure or just get along with, even though they bother you, even though they're draining your energy and limiting your effectiveness in the world. And they can be, they can be very banal, petty, minor annoyances like the classic one is a dripping faucet or a jam-packed closet or a family member's hobby filling up a part of your house or more significant issues like an angry relationship or a high-stress job. Tolerations can be physical, emotional, and psychological, and they consume your time, energy, and attention even when you're not working on them. That's the thing. There's the activity, the action of not working on them is tiring you out. And it's preventing you also from focusing on areas where you could really make some progress or impact right now. Now, for lots of people, even just noticing the tolerations, noticing the concept of tolerations can help you make progress on your bigger goals in several ways and quickly too. Increased energy and focus. By reducing the tolerations in your life, you can start to free up mental and emotional space. Because when you're not constantly distracted or drained by tolerations, you can approach your goals with greater clarity and enthusiasm. And of course, this is a classic example of some privilege. Now, privileged people with affluence, people with connections and ability to get things done, they also suffer from enormous numbers of tolerations, but they tend to have more support, more resources to tackle them than people who are at the other end of the financial spectrum, who have fewer resources in terms of friends and family and connections in the community to help them. So it's an area to really be compassionate about, compassionate to people who have plenty and are still overwhelmed, and to be very compassionate to people who are not as resourced, people who do not have the same monetary energy to throw and focus on a problem with. So, and as you are, as you're thinking about this draining energy that's going on in people's lives, as you start to look at it in your own life and you actively address and resolve even some of those smaller tolerations, you do start to build a sense of power, of empowerment and control over your life that can really spill over into the other areas of your life. Because tolerations, whether it's a broken drawer or a wobbly table or a backload of kids' physicals that you need to fill out and sign before camp season, these things consume your finite time and energy and the things you need for bigger things. Even just getting stuck in with deciding to deal with some of the little tolerations will actually help you develop more perspective about what's on your plate, more problem-solving skills, and instead of feeling worn out, you start to actually become a little bit better equipped to handle day-to-day challenges. Now, as I said before, sometimes just even learning about this concept can be a mind blower and can be very energizing. Just recognizing that all the little things they're metaphorically, or maybe not so metaphorically, calling on you like a room of cranky toddlers. Feed me, pick me up, I'm tired, I want that toy, I hate that toy. Whether you work with a coach or do this on your own, it's important to kind of understand this silent cacophony in the background of your brain. And whether you work with a coach or you do this on your own, the process of dealing with it is actually pretty straightforward and simple, if not exactly easy. So we start just by understanding what a toleration is. And then we identify some of them. Make a list. You can make a list of the things you're putting up with that drain your energy or distract you from your goals. And you can decide to spend just a couple minutes on it. But if you have 99 of them or 203 tolerations on your list, you are not unusual. You're not. I mean, why do you think people downsize? Why do people leave a house to move into a condo? It's not just a financial decision. It's also a way to limit all those tolerations. And I remember when my mom downsized, she said it was such a relief to go from having about 100 light bulbs in the house that needed to be potentially changed or dusted or checked to about 12. Now, I think that's a funny one, but it's emblematic of how things may be weighing on you. That silent to-do list. The silent to-do list, that concept comes from a book called Goodbye Things, which I recommend. Goodbye Things by Fumio Sasaki. He says that every single material item in your house is sending out a message. Now, after you make a list, and for all that's holy, please do not worry about making the perfect, exhaustive list. I bet there are even things you don't even want to write down because you're just not ready to go there yet. So only take 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Write that list down on a sheet or two of paper, and you can always add things later. You can always make a prettier list later or put it in a journal later. But just look at the first quick list you have and get an idea of which items, which tolerations really bug you or really impact your life. And please don't start with something that requires a lot from other people. Pick the things in your life that you have some control over. And then develop a very, very limited action plan. Of course, this is where a coach can be really helpful. But the limited action plan, what steps could you take to eliminate or minimize, 3, 5 of them? Most likely there are a couple of easy ones, a couple of easy ones you could just cross off with a phone call or an email or by carrying something to the trash can or the recycling bin. Pick a couple of those and then choose 1 or 2 slightly more complex ones to break down. Break them down by brainstorming what kind of steps would you need to take to make them into manageable tasks. Now, again, this is so much easier with a coach because a coach can keep you a little more focused. A coach can help you constrain because we don't want a tolerations list to turn into this other thing you're not doing, right? Because that's not helpful. But with a coach or on your own, then you take some decisive and consistent action. Decisive, consistent, and yet fairly small, right? Do you ever get up or get to your office or get home and just stand there and think, which of the 50 things I know I could or should do right now, which one do I do? The short, easy ones? Or get going on the more challenging one? Or maybe the ones that my supervisor will notice or my family has been asking for? Or, of course, I could start with that thing I got really excited about and then barely began. Whether with a coach or on your own, the process is to decide a couple of things. Decide to spend a little time and decide what to spend that time on. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, have you seen my list, Michelle? It's endless. It's way too hard. I don't have time, and it won't even make a difference. I know. That's why so many of you haven't made the progress you want towards your vegan practice or towards a plant-based diet or some other goal that really, really matters to you because it's the same thing and we go about it the same way. To make a difference, we have to decide. And not necessarily to go plant-based overnight, but we decide what we are going to do. So if you're one of my listeners who is just too overwhelmed to really make a big commitment to limiting or eliminating the consumption of animal products right now, if that's you, I am so glad you're here. Thank you for letting this podcast go into your ear. And I get it. I get it if you're someone who's stalled right now and not making the choices consistently that you want to. Thinking about that tolerations list you have is a really good place to start. And even if you're a black belt in vegan, you are probably feeling some overwhelm and some resistance to your goals. So we do this exercise as kind of an end run around overwhelm, around stuckness, and acknowledging what really is taking up your energy. You've probably got too many tabs open on your computer too, just like me. And closing even one of those tabs just seems so permanent, so scary. And that's why I always have a coach. And I think it's also why I'm the perfect coach for some of you. So we can celebrate your progress together and you can maintain momentum and you actually know what to do next rather than just throw in a load of laundry. Okay, you can do this. Make a list. You can make a list in a journal or on a piece of scrap paper. It really doesn't matter to me, especially if you're just doing this for the first time. Please, scrap paper is fine. And if you're thinking, for Pete's sake, Michelle, or you're thinking, Jiminy Christmas, or whatever the kids say these days, if you're thinking, I've got no time for this, just scribble out on a piece of paper for 3 minutes and let's see what comes out. Now, if this is sounding like, what? What? I don't know what to do here. Let's do this over on Voxer together. Okay? So easy. So easy. You get the app and you can send me a message on Voxer. It's Michelle Olander. Michelle is 1L, Michele. Olander also has 1E, Olender. You can get me on Voxer and you can then either message me with writing or you can send me a voice message and let me know what's on your tolerations list. Where Are you stuck? Or you can DM me on Instagram. Lots of people do that, and I'm always happy to respond. Veg Your Best on Instagram. Let's get you unstuck this spring. The most important thing you can clean up this spring, it's your energy. And I'd love to help you with that. Okay, kids? Until next week, veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.